All right, let's jump right into it. Welcome to today's Explainer, where we're tackling something that's frankly one of the most urgent, terrifying realities of our 2026 digital landscape. We're talking about the AI voice cloning epidemic. Look, we're way past the theoretical phase here. We are looking at the cold, hard facts of what actually happens when artificial intelligence is weaponized directly against our families and our bank accounts. In this explainer, we're going to break down exactly how these attacks work, look at the mind-boggling scale of the damage, and most importantly, get into the concrete, actionable steps you absolutely need to take today to defend yourself. Let's get started.
So listen to this. This isn't some crazy plot from a sci-fi movie. This is a very real story from July of 2025 involving a mother down in Florida named Sharon Brightwell. She answers her phone one day, and it's her daughter. The voice is frantic, just sobbing, saying she'd been in a horrific car accident, lost her unborn child, and was about to be thrown in jail. Then a second voice gets on the line, some guy claiming to be an attorney, saying they needed $15,000 that exact second to keep her daughter out of a holding cell. Running on pure sheer maternal instinct, Sharon went to the bank, withdrew the cash, and literally handed it to a courier who pulled right up to her front door.
But here is the absolute gut punch of a twist. That voice on the other end of the line, it wasn't her daughter. Not at all. It was 100% synthetic AI clone. And the scammers didn't need hours of podcast audio to build this incredibly convincing, super emotional replica. According to FBI data, these modern generative AI models only need 3 seconds. Just 3 seconds of audio to perfectly capture a person's tone, their accent, their cadence, and yeah, even emotional inflections like crying. 3 seconds. That is literally all it takes to completely bypass human perception.
Okay, moving into Section 1, Anatomy of a Voice Clone, How Scammers Do It.
These guys are basically operating off a ruthlessly efficient 4-step playbook. Step 1, they harvest a tiny audio sample. Step 2, run it through these widely available, sometimes even free, AI cloning tools. Step 3, they make the call. But they don't just call from an unknown number, right? They use caller ID spoofing, so your phone screen literally flashes your loved one's name. And then Step 4, they demand untraceable payments. They completely weaponize urgency. They're going to demand wire transfers, crypto, gift cards, or like we saw in Sharon's case, literal cold, hard cash handed to a courier. The whole strategy relies on sheer panic, so you don't even take a second to stop and think.
Now, you might be sitting there thinking, well, I don't really post videos online, my voice isn't out there. But scammers are actively harvesting data from places you probably wouldn't even think twice about. Sure, public social media like TikTok and Instagram, absolute gold mines. But they're also scraping background voices from things like family birthday videos, public church live streams, and, get this, even your custom voicemail greetings. If your voicemail is just you saying, "Hi, you've reached John, please leave a message," you have literally just handed a scammer the exact 3 seconds they need. For once, being boring and just using that default carrier robot voice is actually your best defense. Let's look at Section 2. A billion-dollar epidemic, scale of the fraud. So, according to the FBI's Internet Crime Complaint Center, AI-enabled fraud had a staggering $893 million in 2025. But here's the part that really keeps security experts up at night. The FBI explicitly states that this number, it's just the baseline, it's not the ceiling. That $893 million only accounts for the victims who actually realized an AI was involved. There are countless others who just assume they were tricked by a really good human actor, which means the true financial devastation is just vastly, vastly higher. And this tech has rapidly expanded way beyond the traditional grandparent scam. I mean, yes, family distress scams accounted for over $5 million, which is awful, but scammers are now aggressively pivoting to target massive corporations through business email compromise, or BEC. The play goes like this. They send a fake email from the CEO asking for a wire transfer, and then they use an AI voice clone to call up the finance department to verbally confirm it. That little trick cost businesses over $30 million in 2025. They're even using deepfake videos and cloned audio to pass remote job interviews for IT positions. That's a $13 million problem, perfectly designed to just slip right inside a corporate network. The scary truth is, the detection gap has officially closed. A really landmark 2025 study over at Queen Mary University of London basically confirmed everything cybersecurity folks were fearing. They found that under real-world conditions, and especially under the heavy emotional distress these scammers deliberately manufacture, human beings just can't do it anymore. Even trained professionals can no longer reliably tell an AI-generated voice apart from a genuine human one. Your ears are officially obsolete as a security measure. You literally cannot trust what you hear. Which brings us to arguably the most important question of this entire explainer. How exactly do you stop a threat that you can't even hear? If you can't trust your own senses,
What's the move? Well, let's pivot away from the doom and gloom and get into the actual solutions. Here we go, Section 3, your personal defense plan. Protect your family. Listen to me, the single most effective, absolute best defense you have against an AI voice clone is a family code word. You've got to sit down face-to-face with your loved ones and establish a unique secret phrase. Don't text it, don't email it, and please, make it something completely unguessable that you would never ever post on social media. Like if someone calls screaming for bail money, you throw out a challenge question. Hey, how's your garden coming along? And the mandatory answer is something totally random, like the tulips are 16 feet tall. An AI model sitting in a scammer's boiler room has absolutely zero chance of predicting that. Now, right alongside that code word, you really need to hardwire these immediate action steps into your brain. First off, hang up and call back. Even if it sounds exactly like your husband, your wife, your kid, hang up and manually dial the number you already have saved in your contacts. Do not just hit redial. Number 2, ask a deeply personal question, maybe about a childhood pet or a weird inside joke. Number 3, like we mentioned, ditch that custom voicemail greeting and switch to the automated carrier robot. Number 4, lock down your social media, make it private. And finally, just burn this into your memory. No legitimate emergency on Earth will ever require you to hand physical cash to a courier or buy Bitcoin under extreme pressure. Never. All right, zooming out a bit, let's look at Section 4, the 2026 security shift, institutional changes. So, at the macro level, we are witnessing this massive security paradigm shift, and it's largely being driven by new European legal frameworks, specifically stuff like eIDAS 2.0. We are moving entirely away from what's called probabilistic authentication. That means banking systems are no longer allowed to just guess it's you because your voice kind of matches a saved audio file. Why? Because AI can fake that file flawlessly. Instead, banks are moving to deterministic cryptography. By using tools like the European Digital Identity Wallet, or EUDIW, these systems verify you using a mathematically unforgeable key stored right on your device. It is quite literally the difference between a pretty good guess and absolute mathematical certainty. Because of this, major banks are completely restructuring. They're moving to what the industry is calling a post-voice 3-tiered security hierarchy. It's a true zero-knowledge approach. Voice all by itself? Dead. Done. Tier 1 is now that unforgeable cryptographic identity we were just talking about. Tier 2 layers in behavioral signals and mandatory liveness detection, so the system is actively, continuously checking if it's dealing with a live human being or just a synthetic data stream. And then Tier 3 acts as the safety net, using contextual risk scoring based on things like your geolocation and transaction anomalies. And honestly, they have to make the shift because the old ways just totally fail. Human listening, we already know it's not scalable and it's definitely not reliable anymore. Procedural controls, way too slow. Post-analysis software, I mean, sure, it might catch the deepfake after the wire transfer goes through, but by then the money is gone. In 2026, the only truly scalable, reliable way for an institution to catch a deepfake during a live, active interaction is through automated real-time AI detection systems. It's wild, but you literally have to deploy good AI to catch the bad AI in real time. And the regulators, they are absolutely not messing around with this anymore. Starting in August 2026, the EU AI Act officially classifies biometric systems in banking as high risk, which triggers massive, strict audits. By December 2026, every single EU state is required to provide digital wallets to their citizens. And then by December 2027, it's game over for the old way. Every bank has to accept these unforgeable wallets for authentication. Legacy Voice ID is basically being legislated right out of existence. And what happens if the banks decide to drag their feet? Well, they're looking at some truly catastrophic penalties. Under that EU AI Act, if a financial institution gets caught using a voice security AI that a deepfake can just waltz right past, they are facing fines of up to 35 million euros, or 7% of their global turnover. But honestly, the bigger news for you and me is the liability shift. If your bank relies on some outdated voice ID tech and you end up getting scammed, the burden of proof has finally shifted. The bank is now increasingly the one on the hook to reimburse victims because of their own gross negligence. So let's wrap this all up. The big takeaway here is that the system is actually adopting. Institutions are being dragged kicking and screaming away from obsolete voice verification and forced to adopt real-time AI detection and actual cryptography. But those massive macro-level changes, they take time to fully roll out across the globe. And the scammers, they are definitely not waiting. They're dialing numbers right now. So I want to leave you with this one final crucial thought to chew on. Human listening is obsolete.
And the regulations are absolutely changing. But until they fully catch up, what is your family's code word? Seriously, go have that conversation today. Thanks for joining me on This Explainer. Stay vigilant and stay safe out there.